Did Joe Rogan just come out as Christian?
I can't buy that. I'm sticking with Jesus. Yeah, that one.
We're all familiar with Joe Rogan's evolution on Christianity and Jesus over the years. From outright hostility to the Bible.
The whole thing's so stupid. Just stop and think how stupid that is.
To a more softened approach when he's able to see the practical value of following Jesus.
We need Jesus.
He keeps joking and they keep taking it seriously. I mean, just right then, you know, in both clips, I don't know if it started right away, but I played another clip that was saying that Joe Rogan's like, yeah, I'm sticking with Jesus. And he kind of says it and it's like, I'm just making light of it. It's like, it's not necessarily like making fun of it, but at the same time, he doesn't really sound serious. But, you know, I guess that's all these people need. They don't care. As long as you say Jesus, if you're like anything not negative specifically about Jesus, they're like, wow, Joe Rogan's a Christian now. But I don't know. It honestly still wouldn't surprise me if Joe Rogan did come out as a Christian, seeing as how, you know, we might discover that he did something really horrible to some women or something. And so, you know, he needs that forgiveness from the made up wizard thing because he can't get the forgiveness from the people that he actually hurt, because that seems to be what people do a lot of the time. Anyway, we're going to get into this. I am Brentley, and this is the Punk Apostate. Let's go. So I've been kind of busy, so I haven't been able to really take a whole lot of glances at this ahead of time. So we're just going to start. We're just starting fresh. That was the beginning of the video. We're going to continue on.
I think for real.
It has been almost comical with how much Jesus has been brought up on his podcast.
It is comical. I will give him that. It is kind of funny that people just keep bringing up the Jesus. It seems to be the kind of people that he picks to bring on there. But whatever.
With Hulk Hogan wearing a John 3:16 shirt.
Why would you bring on that piece of... Jeez,
or conversations with Jordan Peterson, Aaron Rodgers, or even Matthew McConaughey. He's even been confronted with the reality of God and Jesus from the physicist and scientist Michio Kaku and Stephen C. Meyer.
Stephen Meyer, get the... Okay, so I don't know the first guy at all, but Stephen Meyer's a fraud. Like, he's a... whatever, you know, I just know that he's like, does a lot of pseudoscience crap and tries to justify his religious beliefs with science, but it's like absurd nonsense science. It's not real science. It's more actually like, I'm a scientist so that I can say science is stupid kind of thing. Kind of like the book that I was raised being taught, you know, the beautiful story of creation from the Bible and science too. But science is stupid because, you know, it doesn't say that the Bible is true, whatever.
But in light of Joe Rogan's recent thoughts about Jesus, this moment from 2023 where Rogan shares a Jesus song really sticks out.
I found a song from 19...
What the heck is happening? What is he wearing? Oh, it's a spacesuit. It's a spacesuit. Is this a Halloween? Is this a Halloween episode? Is that what's going on? I don't know. Anyway.
70. That's a Jesus song, a pro-Jesus song, and if jams, dude.
It's a Jesus song. You know, like a pro-Jesus song? No, that's not like a Jesus song as in an anti-Jesus song. It was a pro-Jesus.
Why don't you come to Jesus? He's got the answer. Listen to this stuff. Listen to this. It's good, man. The lyrics are good.
As Joe Rogan...
He's like, oh, man, I hate it. Let me just say, I'm so glad that the internet exists, because for whatever reason, I hate it when people do that to me. When they sit down, like, oh man, you got to check out this song. And then they're playing the song. They're, Dear Jesus. And they're like, get all like, right? You know, they're like looking at you while they're listening to the song. And you're just like, oh, I've never heard the song before. You're kind of talking over the I can't actually hear it, man. Because you know, just send it to me. Just send it to me. I'll listen to it on my own time, and then maybe I can re-listen to it with all of this going on, all of your excitement overlaid on top. You know what I mean?
Rogan is singing the lyrics to that song, Why Don't You Look to Jesus? Just 2 years later.
The ironic thing is that I do that to people a lot. Okay. You know, but I notice it. I know I'm being annoying when I do it, but I still don't like it when other people do. I can do it, okay, because I'm fun. All right. Other people are weird, right? That's how that goes.
Seems like he's looking into Jesus almost in every podcast. But before we get into that, guys, my name is Ruslan. This channel
almost in every like every single time, every single episode, Jesus comes up. Well, it's kind of the most popular religion in the country. What is it? It's on the planet. Yeah, the planet. It's the most popular religion.
Just to encourage, empower, and inspire you to live a life that blesses God. So if you're new here or if you're not new here,
I swear that highlighter noise is just nails on a chalkboard.
Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. As we looked at the back,
yeah, if you don't mind, maybe just hitting the like thumb, and maybe subscribing if this is the kind of content that you enjoy. I'm branching out. I'm doing all sorts of stuff. Okay. We're going to be doing call-in type stuff. Oh yeah. If you want to head over and maybe like that video too. I don't know. I took a clip from a members only call-in TikTok call-in type thing. And I had a conversation with the pre-sub. And so, yeah, check out that video, watch it, like it, spread it around. I don't know. The videos are not doing great for some reason. All of a sudden it's strange. The algorithm, as far as I understand, maybe it got updated recently or something like that, because it's not putting out stuff anymore. Like all of a sudden, a lot of us that were kind of like right about to like get up, you know, hitting up in the numbers, like it's completely just dropping off. So yeah, any liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, all that type of stuff, if you could help us out with that, really appreciate it.
Back in analytics and found out that a huge percentage of you that watch this channel regularly just kind of let the YouTube.
I'm subscribed, not me. It's not me. Okay, well, I'm not, but my dummy account is, so that I can anyway.
Algorithm serve it up to you, and you're not subscribed. So if you can subscribe, we're on the road to 800,000 subscribers. I would love to celebrate that with you. That would mean the world.
Jesus Christ, this guy's got 800,000 subscribers.
To me. All right, let's jump into this video. Okay, so we've been talking about Rogan's evolution here for quite a while. In episode 20,
he's going backwards. He's turning back into an ape-like creature. So yeah, it's been pretty crazy. It's weird. You don't usually see evolution in reverse. Until Joe Rogan, you know what I mean?
3:17, he sits down with Cody Tucker and the conversation of God comes up. Now, we are
Cody Tucker. You can't have two first names like that, can you? That's not allowed. Okay?
We're going to look at Joe's claims in this. Look at a Bible passage towards the end of the video that I actually think affirms his claims in this. Not affirms in that kind of way, affirms in a good kind of way. All right. And then we are going to look at a video of how preposterous the counter claims to Joe Rogan actually are. Okay, so before we get into that, let's check out this clip.
I don't understand. Hold on, let me go back. I'm sorry, I'm already like losing track. Because what, man?
Video of how preposterous the counter claims,
the counter claims
Joe Rogan actually are. Okay, so before we get
Joe Rogan actually
that, let's check out this clip. This is around the hour and 37-minute mark where the conversation of God comes out. Check this out.
But then who made all that?
Right.
Like, is there a God? Did God make this?
Or is God the universe?
Yeah, but then who made God? And then that bothers me.
So they're talking about the universe. They're talking about who made the universe. Is the universe God? If there is a God, who made God?
I know Joe Rogan's like, maybe God is the universe. Okay, like, and I don't know. I think that one's funny because it's just like, okay, so we're just naming other things God then, like, because don't get me wrong, universe pretty cool. Okay, you know, if we're gonna decide that something it needs to be labeled God, if you want something that's pretty cool, universe is pretty cool. Okay, don't think it's a God. Don't think it's what anybody means when they say the word God. But you know, but there are a lot of people, I will say, that think that the universe is very concerned with their love life. You know, sometimes and stuff. You know what I mean? Like they'll be like, well, the universe was sending me a message. Okay, and so they just swap out like God for the universe, which usually just means things are working out. Things are working out good for me. Like, I don't know what happens when, bad things happen. Are they just like, the universe hates me? The universe, the universe did not like my brand new car, and that's why they let somebody key it. Probably shouldn't have gotten one of those Cybertrucks, though, given everything that's going on. Maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
Now, the question of who created God is actually a funny one because it was explored at length by Impact Video Ministries in one of those interesting storyboard videos. Check this out real quick.
Now, someone may ask, well, who created God? And for the sake of building an argument,
we just went over this. That's so funny. Holy crap. I didn't know that this was that big of a channel, to be honest. I thought this was like, so it's not for kids. Okay. All right. I guess that answered our question. It's so sad because I was like, this has got to be for kids. This has got to be like a apologetics for 10-year-olds type of YouTube channel. But here is Ruslan be like, this is a great channel for adults. Check this out. You learned a lot from this video. And then plays were like, okay, I guess it isn't for. I guess Christians are just a lot like kids. I don't know,
just say that the Christian God and Jesus were created by a greater God. So let's call this God, God 2. So God 2 created Christian God.
Oh, we're getting into
problem
we're
solving.
getting into Ember's thing where we get all the way to nil, the not God creator of creator gods, nil, which is so awesome. I love
it. But actually, another question arises. Who then created God 2?
That's right.
Well, actually, the answer's pretty easy. God 3 obviously created God 2. And this creates a bigger problem. Because if everything needs a cause for its existence, then us as people could never exist. Why? Let's look at ourselves, the existence of people, as being a domino. And the Christian God who created us, he's the domino before us. And
this domino is just sort of like whatever, not, just not sad nor happy, just sort of bored, right? This one's psyched, right? This one's psyched to start the universe or whatever. And he's got little arms like he's about to like do something. I love it.
And God 2 is the domino before Christian God, and God 3 is
this one just ate a big mouthful of candy. That's what that one is.
Before God 2, and so on.
And this one's about to do something really like mischievous. That's a mischievous face. Right.
Now, if
I'm going to stop doing the domino faces. I'm sorry. I know a couple people are okay, man. Yeah, no, we got it. The dominoes have faces. They're kind of funny. Whatever.
Everything always needed a cause for its existence, then there would be an unending or infinite number of dominoes. And if there was an infinite number of dominoes, we couldn't be here because nothing could ever begin.
So if there's an infinite.
I love it. Yeah. So if there's an infinite number of dominoes to like start the ball rolling or whatever, then we would never be able to arrive at today because infinity means ongoing forever. So it would have to keep going, ad infinitum, actually. Right. But like, I don't know. To me, that just infinity is kind of something that we've sort of created as a concept. And it's funny because we created it as a concept, but we can't really fathom it very well. And whenever we try to do these kinds of calculations, it's just interesting to me because like what it ends up being more often than not is that there's kind of this incalculable nature of infinity. It reminds me of that. There's this like metal, I don't know if they're still metal, but there was this really badass like psychocore metal band called the Dillinger Escape Plan. And I always thought the one album, the best album that they had, it was called Calculating Infinity. And it's and they were really complicated. Like there was no way you could follow their music at all. And almost it literally does sound like your grandpa saying, it sounds like noise. It really does in a lot of respects. No coherent beats, none of that. Anyway, super complicated, but that's why, then they call it Calculating Infinity. But I was just thinking that because like there is no way to calculate infinity. It's sort of incalculable. Yeah, I was making a point with that or something. Did you, Kevin? Do you have the point that you don't? Kevin doesn't know the point I was making either.
Number of dominoes. We couldn't be here because nothing would ever begin. And what we do know is that the universe had a beginning. So That is why the Christian
We
God
don't know. I mean, well, we know our universe has a beginning, but that's it. Like, we don't know, like, the cosmos, the the whatever, like, all of the universes. We don't know. It doesn't seem like, to me. I don't know. I think that it is more likely in an infinite thing. Whatever. It's like there was never any actual beginning, but I could be mistaken. Again, I don't put all of my I don't dedicate my life to the belief that the universe had to not have a beginning. So it's not that big a deal if I'm mistaken. You know what I mean? But anyway,
actually makes the most amount of sense, because the God of the Bible is outside of space and time.
Yeah, because it doesn't exist. All things that don't exist, they don't exist for any amount of time, and they don't take up any space. So yeah, God doesn't exist. I actually agree with them on this one. It's outside of space and time. Yep. Just like unicorns. They don't take up any space or exist for any amount of time either, because that's how made up stuff is. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Feeling okay? Doing great? Who won today? Let's see. See what we got here. Did my thing work? Oh, hold on. Let me do it over here so that I can actually see what's going on. All right. Wolfos won again. Dude, Wolfos is just killing it lately. I don't think anybody has beaten Wolfos to the punch in a very long time. Let's see. You said, you picked it, I stick it. You pick it, I stick it. I don't know. That sounds sexual for some reason. Anyway, if you want to stick it, just go to adamandeve.com, enter that code word Brentley at checkout to get 50% off almost anyone. Wolfos, you're in the way. I mean, why do you give me a segue for an ad if you're going to just keep your thing up in the way? Thank you. Jeez Louise. What the fuck? Go to adamandeve.com, enter that code word Brentley at checkout, and get your butt some stuff. Anyway, all right, sorry. What else were you saying, Wolfos? My bad. Let's see. Who gets the reference? I guess I don't. Hold on. What is the reference? Said what? You pick it, I stick it. Who gets the reference? I'm only here this early because you posted. Now I have free range of #1 spot. You're at what? So what the solution is? I should just not post it. Is that what you're saying? It's like your fault. You posted it. All right. Anyway, Pandora. What's up? Pandora's second. So Wolfos first again. Yeah, Wolfos has been first for I don't even know how long. Anyway, first guy, see the ninja. See the ninjas failed. Damn, and Pandora's pinata was just holding ninjas probably inside that pinata. Little mini ninjas or minjas. Can we cut that? Yeah, let's cut that. That was wow. That was stupid. Anyway, all right. So ninjas. What the wow, dude. Okay. Think before you say stuff, Brantley. You know what I mean? Jeez Louise. Unbelievable. And then let's see who was third. James. What's up, James? Howdy, y'all. Howdy to you. What's up, man? All right. I'm going to move back over to my other computer, and I'll address everybody on there, but I'm not going to be able to bring it up. But who else we got? Looks like we've got, let's see, what did I say? Okay, there's Pinata. We got Wolfos. We've also got James. We've got Lynn is a little ADHD. How you doing? So this dude is really making me want Domino's. Want some pizza. It's kind of early for pizza, but no, I get it though. I get it. Do like Domino's. Right? Hungry Howie's is better. But anyway, no, don't mind. We're not going to get into that fight on air. All right. Again, took up way too much time the last time. Ways to Human. AJ, what's going on? How we doing? Is it outside of space and time? Imaginary. Yeah. It was funny. I remember like one time, there was this video of, I'm trying to think of somebody was saying it's like, oh, it's outside of space and time. And then the teacher, whatever, was like, name one thing that's like that, that actually does exist. And the theist was like, logic. Oh, bam. Yeah. Outside of space and time exists independent, whatever. And it's like, okay, so something that only exists inside the minds of people. I agree with you. Yep. God is like logic. He only exists inside the minds of people. He's just a lot less useful than logic, I will say. Anyway, let's see. Charlie, what's up, Charlie? How we doing, man? Then we got use reasoning of the universe had a beginning. Okay, this is C.Y. Belcher. Cy Belcher. What's up, dude? So use reasoning, man. The universe had a beginning, and you have to have way more faith that there are other universes or more of the world than the faith it takes to have in God or Creator. Okay, so Siza or Kai or whatever, however you pronounce your name, is a theist. And no, I don't, because again, I don't care enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like the thing is, I don't stake my entire life on whether or not the universe had a beginning, right? So I can be wrong about that and it wouldn't matter, right? But you, on the other hand, base your entire life off of your religion being true. So you're kind of acting like you're right so much that it influences your behavior. To whereas my behavior is only influenced by, just regular life stuff. I don't know, things that I can demonstrate to be the case. Because all this other stuff is just sort of like philosophical questioning that doesn't really mean anything. But I'm glad you're here. Thanks for hanging out. Anyway, let's see who else we got here. And we got gods are too complex. They are complex, That's sort of the thing. It's so funny too, because they're like, oh man, it all had to be created because the stuff is too complex. Therefore, God had to create it. And it's like, wouldn't a God be even more complex? Because it sounds pretty complex, yet it didn't need to be made. There's that you gotta stay consistent, right? But they're like, but no, I made up a magical characteristic that makes it so I don't have to be consistent with my stuff, whatever. Anyway.
And he does not need a cause. That is what makes him God. Okay, let's come back to this Joe Rogan video as they dive in a little deeper on some of these questions.
Like, who made that thing?
Is that a thing that we think that, like, because we were born and we die, that we have these...
Dude, like, Fox, what's up, dude? So don't lean on your own understanding when you know you don't understand what is not seen. Okay? Yeah, the Bible says not to lean on your own understanding. It's like, don't try to figure it out. Just decide that I'm right. Just quit doing the thinking. No, don't do any more thinking. Just, hey, I'm right about what I tell you a God is and what it wants and what you should and should not do. All that stuff. Just listen to me. Okay? I gotta be, don't think. No, see you trying to lean on your own understanding. No. I'm doing the understanding, and then I just give my understanding to you. That's how we do this. Okay? Don't stop thinking at all.
Biological limitations that we attach to the universe itself.
That's fair. That we see things as being built and destroyed.
That there's always been something. Well, wouldn't it be crazy if there wasn't something at one point in time? That seems even crazier. Then there always has been something.
So it's interesting that
what the hell does it? Of course, there was always something, man. That doesn't make it. I don't know. This one's so odd to me when they're just talking about, it's the point back when there was nothing. Back in nothingness time. Like, that's just not a thing. Like, what? We would need a lot more reasons to believe that was ever a time, right? That there was ever a time when there was absolutely nothing. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I don't think it makes any sense to anybody that has investigated like cosmology and things like that.
Rogan points out something similar. We're looking at the beginning of the universe and the existence of something outside of time through the lens of our own human experience as people who have beginnings and ends. But God is ontologically different. Okay, let's come back to this Rogan.
Yeah, he's made up. So yeah, you're right. Ontologically different in the sense that it's made up.
If it's just the nature of everything, there is always something, right?
Right.
It couldn't be nothing and then all of a sudden everything. That seems...
Because what started that? What kicked that off?
Exactly.
What snapped its fingers? Like,
that's McKenna's great line. Terrence McKenna had a great line.
Yeah, see, we said we barely understand quantum mechanics. We don't understand dark matter. I'm just saying there's a lot more or a lot of things we don't understand yet. I agree. So stop coming to conclusions like about a God existing before we understand stuff, man, because it could be the case that all of the questions that we have that we don't have answers to are answered by things that are just like that, by things we have no idea about at all, right? And we were just using a God, for the longest time as kind of like a placeholder for all the stuff we don't understand. It's just the God of the gaps type of stuff. Can we just say we don't know until we have evidence, that we can look at to say that, oh, now we know a little bit or whatever, or we can come to a little, but like, it's, again, it doesn't really matter to me. Like how the universe came into existence, this doesn't affect my life really at all. It's just something I go, I wonder about that. That's it. I'm not staking my entire life on it, like Christians do.
About the difference between science and religion is that science only asks you for one miracle. I want you to believe in one miracle, the Big Bang.
Yeah. That's a good one.
It's a great line. Yeah. It's because it really is true.
So we've heard Rogan say this multiple times before. Science only asks you for one miracle. Now,
you've said that a bunch of times. I don't know. That doesn't mean anything. Oh, science asks you for one miracle and then explains everything else. Science doesn't need any miracles or anything like that. It just like what it is based solely off of like what we can investigate, right? And whatnot. And then we, have different models and we come to different conclusions based on the models and, that are logically consistent and line up with all the different fields of science and everything. But it doesn't require any miracles. It's just, it's weird. Like they think that if you have a question mark, that's a miracle, right? Like if we don't know what happened before the Big Bang, therefore miracle, right? And it's like, no, dude, it's just something we don't understand. And we're working to figure that out. Stop deciding that you know stuff before we've had time to figure it out. Just say you don't know. But the current model of the theory is the Big Bang theory or whatever. Although I think right now that model is currently being updated due to new data being introduced. And so now we're taking like, probably like a Bayesian approach or whatever, as far as like new data being implemented into the model of the Big Bang, the Big Bang model. Anyway, so I don't know. Right now, I think it's literally being updated as we speak because of the, all this new data we got.
We're going to look at him in a moment, actually making what I feel like is one of the most overt professions of faith in Jesus I've heard yet. I'm not saying he's a follower of Jesus and all that kind of stuff just yet, but it seems like he's definitely leaning that way, or at the very least, Jesus curious. But it's actually even more preposterous than this. Rogan rightfully says that science only asks you one miracle, which is...
No, that's incorrect. Nitty said, a theory of our current instantiation of space-time is never invoking magic. Yeah, because it's completely useless, man. If we start just throwing magic out there, then we could just say that, then we don't have to do any more thinking about literally anything. We could just always say, well, because magic. Anything that doesn't add up to the scientists or whatever, you just, oh, God just wanted it like that. Done. Stop investigating stuff. Okay. Because God wanted it to. That's it. Now throw all the papers on the floor, because of God. That's why science. Get out of here, scientists. Why do we need to understand stuff? Okay. Just do what the pastor says. All right.
How did the beginning start? And then they'll explain the rest. But my buddy Glenn Scrivener points out that there's actually 4 miracles that one has to acknowledge. Check this clip out with Glenn Scrivener sitting down on John Anderson Media's YouTube channel in the 4 miracles that is actually required to hold a atheistic position.
Scientifically, we've already seen 4 miracles. That
oh my God. Isn't this the... Wait, is that... No, wait. Who is John Anderson? He looks really familiar. And for whatever reason, I was thinking of like Answers in Genesis, but that might be somebody different. I don't know.
Orders of magnitude more improbable than that carpenter walking out of a Jerusalem.
Hold on.
Actually required to hold a atheistic position.
Scientifically, we've already seen 4 miracles that are orders of magnitude more improbable than that carpenter walking out of a Jerusalem tomb. Okay,
That's a big thing to say.
Well, everything's come from nothing, John.
Right? Yeah. All right. I get it.
Nobody says that. Dude, just already lying. Dude, already lying about like all science. Everything comes from nothing, Joe. No, it doesn't. Nobody said that.
Everything's come from nothing.
Everything's come from nothing.
Yeah.
So, I believe in the virgin birth of Jesus, but this is the virgin birth of the cosmos without a virgin, right?
Oh man, this guy is so good. It's the virgin birth of the cosmos minus a virgin. Oh man, dude, you just don't understand something. That's it. And then you're just saying that it's that it's a miracle.
No reason, and so everything's come from nothing. Order has come from chaos, because if we have come from a giant explosion, it's the most finely tuned explosion I've ever seen. And so it seems to me to be an unscientific.
It's not really an explosion, it's an expansion, dude. Jeez Louise.
Scientific escape from a distasteful conclusion that an atheist scientist might see a design argument, and instead of going for a designer, they escape that way. And so we've had everything from nothing. We've had order that has come from chaos. Life has emerged from non-life, right? How do you go from chemistry, prebiotic chemistry, to biology? That's a big problem. It's a big issue. I happen to believe that.
No, it's not. Is it a time? Time gets you from chemistry to biology, and we have a lot of evidence to suggest this sort of thing. So, I mean, abiogenesis is the study of life coming from non-life. They have a lot of really great models. I don't know. I'm not a scientist myself or anything, but like I would suggest go check out Forrest Valkai. He talks about this sort of thing a lot. And if you disagree with me and atheists on the subject, call him. He's on call-in shows constantly. I think he was literally just on the Atheist Experience this past Sunday with John Gleason. Am I right about that? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Okay. But yeah, no, we have a lot of good evidence to suggest that life did come from non-life. I mean, I thought there was experiments done that like demonstrated that the building blocks of life self-assemble, and then it just kind of goes from there. As long as the conditions are right, life comes into existence. Just is what it is.
One man walked out of a Jerusalem tomb 2,000 years ago. I happen to believe that the non-living Jesus became living, but the atheistic account of biology is that all life came from non-living material. And then we've got, minds from minds.
It's so weird to compare these sort of things, man. Like he's talking about, he's taking like the realm of things that we don't understand or whatever, and we're still like figuring things out in science or whatever, and comparing that to something going against everything we already do understand, right? Like we understand that people don't come back from the dead after being dead for 30 days based on everything that we understand about how the world works. When people are dead, they're dead. That's it. There's no coming back, right? But he's comparing that to, but how did any life come into existence? If you can say that any life came into existence from non-life, that's basically magic. Jesus coming back from life. This, no difference. It's a false equivalency, man. It's absurd to act like these two things are similar in any respect.
Endless matter. How do you go from biology to psychology? Again, David Chalmers, an Australian.
Oh, Ryan. Hey, Ryan. How we doing? Ryan saying, howdy, gotta walk Pickles. Oh, Pickles is the name of your. I love it. Pickles is so good. It reminds me of, damn, whose name? It was like in like the Dick Van Dyke Show or the Mary Tyler Moore Show or something. I think it was Ted. It was Ted from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. His wife was Pickles, and boy, I loved her. Yeah, she was so funny. Anyway,
philosopher of mind says, how do you go from the water?
Yes, I'm old. I know. I'm old. I know. I don't look as old as I actually am. I used to watch Mary Tyler Moore. I'm like 80. Okay, that's
of the brain to the wine of consciousness. Well, I happen to believe in a miracle maker who makes that sort of stuff possible. And so I would say that all of those are.
So then it doesn't matter. As long as you believe in a miracle maker, then anything can be possible because nothing matters anymore. So like, just Jesus, he's so stupid.
Miracles that are sort of life from the dead kind of things. And then when I look at Jesus, well, he claims to be our maker. And if he is who he says he is, it would be extraordinary if he didn't rise from the dead, if he rotted in some Jerusalem tomb. As I believe in the resurrection, it's not because I'm adding one more absurdity to my worldview. I am looking through the lens of this life from the dead God, and it explains what would otherwise be absurd.
Now, I love that Glenn.
It doesn't explain anything, man. This is what I don't. This is like, I mean, when you say that an all-powerful magical being explains something, like it explains exactly nothing. You just made up a thing to account for anything you don't understand, and then saying that you now do understand it due to the magical being that can cause and be the reason for everything at any time. But there's no demonstration that being exists. And all you're doing, and this is like why a lot of times I think on the ACA and stuff, they say that you're just appealing to a larger mystery. You're just appealing to something else we don't understand, while using that lack of understanding to act like you understand something. That's why it's like an argument from ignorance. You're saying it's caused by this God that we don't understand, right? And appealing to that God that you don't actually understand in order to act like you understand something. It's going from a not understanding to an understanding, and it just doesn't work that way.
Makes the point, rightfully so here, that the resurrection event actually explains everything else. So when you consider those 4 miracles and you juxtapose those to who Jesus...
Stokey, what's going on, dude? Oh, Stooky. Did I say that right? Yeah, Stooky M. I like that. What's up, Stooky? How you doing? Anyway, said God is a concept by which we measure our pain. Sounds like a very wise music, John Lennon. Okay, well, yeah, that's he was pretty great. I love the Beatles. I'm gonna be honest. One of my like all-timer type favorite, bands, the Beatles, of course, right? But that was like my dad's favorite band too. So I don't know. He listened to it a lot when I was growing. It's nostalgia, probably. I'm a nostalgia. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Claim to be, it's not that preposterous for him to rise himself from the dead. Think about this. Jesus,
if we accept, I love when they just see this. They're like, look, if you get to have stuff that you don't understand, then I can say that this thing happened because I just don't understand God magic. And so, but then this just makes it so you could, like, anybody could say anything is true, because like I could say that I flew to my, I flew around the sky like 20 minutes ago, and you go, but that's impossible. Hey, like where did everything come from? Huh? How did life come from non-life? Okay, well, since you don't understand that, then why are you acting like you need to understand how I flew around the sky 20 minutes ago? Yeah, that's right. Because, you don't need to. It's, as long as there's something we don't understand, I can convince you of literally anything, because I can always just appeal to the stuff you don't understand. Jeez Louise.
Rose other people from the dead. In John chapter 11, we see Jesus raising his friend Lazarus from the dead. This is brilliantly depicted in The Chosen's season 4, episode 7, where Jesus, played by Jonathan Rumi, raises Lazarus from the dead. And it's incredible. And so the idea that Jesus...
Psychonaut? What is it? So Jesus' girlfriend made the best Christing drugs. What? It's what? And that was how it made his heart rate go so low that people just thought. Is that what you're saying? I don't know. I don't know what you're saying.
Rising from the dead is somehow crazy. Isn't, because he's risen other people from the dead, not just Lazarus. We also see Jesus raising a little girl from the dead in Matthew chapter 9. This is depicted in season 3 of The Chosen. Now, I'm referencing The Chosen simply because sometimes we can read these things.
Oh, okay. No, it's funny. He's like, it was even in the show, so it's got to be that. That's got to be true. Remember, Jesus just raises people from the dead all the time. And honestly, if you go back to the infant Gospel of Thomas or whatever, he brings people back from the life, back to life a lot after he killed them. But he did bring them back. Okay, and that kid kind of deserved it. All right, he was acting crazy on top of that house until Jesus pushed him off. But he healed him. It was cool. All right. And same thing with his teacher, who thought that, Jesus needed to be taught stuff, and actually talking down to the child like he was a child. He said, no, dead until he brings you back. Okay. That's Jesus. You got to go read that book. It's amazing. It's the infant Gospel of Thomas. It's hilarious.
And we don't understand the magnitude of what actually happened. And so shout out to Dallas Jenkins. Shout out to our friends over at The Chosen. We know at least 3 people that Jesus rose from the dead in the gospel.
No, you don't, man. You know of a story that claimed that Jesus rose 3 people from the dead. My goodness. So like, we know specifically of 3 people. No, you didn't. Like that's acting like you could demonstrate or like have some extra biblical evidence that this stuff actually did happen. None of that, dude. None of that.
Narrative. Jairus' daughter, we described, his friend Lazarus, and the son of the widow of Nain. Now, Joe Rogan goes on to say something very similar here with regards to Jesus. Check this out.
And it's funny because people would be incredulous about the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but yet they're convinced that the entire universe was smaller than the head of a pin, and for no reason that anybody's adequately explained to me that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
instantaneously became everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't buy that.
I'm sticking with Jesus on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the undead carpenter ghost that people pretend to cannibalize, unless you're Catholic, and then they do actually cannibalize them. That's what makes sense. That was how clearly, that's where the universe came from, because, you know, the woman made of a rib being convinced by the talking snake to eat a magical fruit. That's why God had to sacrifice himself to himself in order to convince himself to save the world from himself. That's what makes sense right there. That's, you know, because I can't figure out quantum physics and a quantum scalar field and it being halfway between a true and false vacuum state. Jeez Louise. Yeah, I don't understand quantum physics either. Doesn't, like, I swear, these people, you could convince these people of anything. If you can just be like, oh, well, do you know how this happened? No? Okay, well, then you got to listen to me lie about whatever it is I'm lying about at this moment. I can convince you of anything as long as I can point to something you don't understand and then act like I have a better explanation for it.
Like, Jesus makes more sense.
I'm sticking with Jesus on that one. It makes more sense. Now, again, did I call it or did I call it? And very similar to the Larry Norman.
He's been very excited about the prospect of Joe Rogan becoming a Christian. That's why he said that just now. And it's been kind of absurd up until pretty recently again. And like I said, like, it's kind of become sort of fad for people to become Christians. I think they just, a lot of these people that like do these like widespread content, they know that that's one of the main through lines for their audience is most people are Christian. I mean, if you look at the stats or whatever, like, yeah, most people are some version of Christian. Atheists is really low. There's hardly any atheists. Like, the other, like, I mean, people will claim to be like nuns or whatever, where they're just like no religious affiliation or whatever. That's a little bit higher, but people really don't like the atheist word. That's the thing, you know, even though arguably that's the same thing. If you have no religious affiliation, then you're an atheist. But I guess a lot of those people would be like, oh, but I believe in a higher power. Okay. But anyway, but yeah, it's a safe bet if you have a large platform to appeal to Christianity, because there's so many damn Christians.
Norman song that Joe Rogan referenced years ago, and we put in the intro of this video. Why don't you look into Jesus? He's got the answers. But some people will say, why? Why does Jesus have the answers? Well, this theme is actually all throughout Scripture, but we're going to go specifically to Colossians chapter 1, verse 15 in our trusty Logos software. Now,
okay, but like, this is the other thing that's kind of weird. Why do you go straight to Jesus? Like, if the whole thing is that you just don't understand where everything came from, well, there's like 1.5 billion other explanations. There's other religions. And then even if you go with Christianity, there's like so many different interpretations of Christianity, and nobody's able to demonstrate that anybody is more correct than anybody else. Like, that's not a problem for anybody. Like, I don't know, but why is it just Jesus? Like, just because that's the religion that's popular in the country that you live in? Because if we had this exact same like setup, but over in the Middle East, it'd be like Islam. It'd be Allah would be the answer to everybody's question. Oh, Allah's the thing that makes more sense. I'm sticking with Muhammad. You know, that would be the Joe Rogan of the Middle East talking. You know what I mean? But because we're here, Jesus makes more sense to Joe Rogan.
If you guys didn't know, I love Logos. They're a partner with us here. The themes explored about Jesus in this chapter aren't exclusive to this chapter. So let's look at it. Colossians chapter 3, verse 15, it says, the Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. Okay, I think people could see that Jesus is over all creation, but then it makes even more intense statements. For in him, all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. But the end of verse 16 is where it doubles down. Paul's
right there, you can almost see, like, why so many, like, why these beliefs are so prevalent, right? oh, God made the people like everything.
Doubling down.
For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. Right there. That's the sentence to take a look at, because that's, of course, what the powerful people want everybody to think, because the whole, like, they want to act like they were chosen by God to have the authority and the wealth and the power and the things that they do. So if things are unfair and you got this person hoarding all the resources, while right down the street there's a kid skinny as a rail drinking out of a dirty puddle, hey, God chose the guy to have way too much and that kid to starve. Sorry. And I'm chosen by God. I'm chosen by God. That kid, he probably should have been chosen by God. I don't know. I should have done something else. But like that's why this verse is in here. That's why religion exists. Really, it's just to give an excuse to the wealthy and the powerful to be able to have their power, and everybody needs to shut the hell up about it. And then and you get thought crimes if you challenge that. How dare you? Well, you're going to hell. You're going to hell. God gave me this power, so you saying I shouldn't have it, you're going to hell now. Sorry, buddy. Now your afterlife sucks as much as your real one.
All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together.
And if you want somebody in you, I don't know if that worked. Whatever. Go to adamandeve.com. Enter code word Brentley at checkout to get 50% off almost any one item. 6 free movies, 3 free gifts, and free shipping on the whole order. Go to adamandeve.com. Enter that code word Brentley. Get your butt some stuff. Adamandeve.com is America's #1 adult toy dispensary. Save yourself a trip to that sticky store and have it sent directly. You don't have to, you can just avoid all the stickiness, right? And you take it straight out of the package. It hasn't been used prior. Just go to adamandeve.com, right? It's well worth the time, the effort, and the money. All right. Back to the fun, right? Let's see here.
Okay. Now here's the cool part is in our Logos software, which, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, but if you hit the pinned comment below, go to logos.com/Ruslan. They're actually giving all of you guys free 60-day trial. And the software is like $12 a month after that if you want to keep it.
What?
I use it almost every day.
You got to pay. You got to pay to read the Bible. Man, are you serious? And you know what it is? It's like to pay to read the Bible, to have all their little notes and stuff. But there are free options for this, as well as just the internet, man. Just Google stuff. It's like the most widely studied book on planet Earth. All you got to do is go, what was the original language of this verse? Like, what was the Latin or the Greek word for X, Y, or Z in the Bible verse that I'm reading? And Google brings it up. They're going to charge you money every month just to have access to a thing you definitely already have access to. Jesus Christ.
In my personal Devo right on my phone, but I'm on the desktop version. So if we select this word all, right, and then we right click on it, hit study, it takes us to the original Greek word, which is pause. Okay, now pause in the Greek means each, every, any, and every, all, whole, every kind, all sorts. All right.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Like they click on these words and they're like, okay, here's the list of the words that it could be referring to. Jesus Christ.
And we see the use.
And a lot of times, like I said, I always say they use this to kind of like muddy the waters and like muddy the waters, but also pastors love this type of stuff because they can always just like come up with some other metaphor so that they can tell a story about how the dishwasher stopped working one day and the faith that he had that he could fix it or whatever the hell, you know what I mean? Because of some word in the Greek or whatever, just it helps them out a lot for those kinds of sermon type stories.
Uses of it in the scriptures, all things, everyone, everything. So everything.
Everyone, all, everything, man. Yeah, I'm glad that you're here to distinguish this type of stuff. Otherwise, I would be lost.
Okay. And if we go down,
like, what did the Bible mean by everything? All and everyone is also included. What the hell are we doing? My goodness.
Down here, we could even see other verses that Jesus is using this in Matthew 11, right? All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son.
Yeah, so all things and everything is also in the Bible elsewhere. This is really important stuff that we all need to hear about. Ruslan, what the hell is happening?
We go to Matthew 5:18, and he says, "For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of a pen will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished."
That's I love bringing that verse up, actually, because a lot of times when people talk about, oh, well, that's the Old Testament, you know, we don't have to abide by the stuff in the Old Testament because Jesus died. But that verse right there, Jesus is like, no, you still have to abide by the old law until the heavens and the earth disappear. So it's just kind of funny that they always forget about that. And I used to bring that up to a lot of Christians because I remember when I was a Christian, I was the type of Christian that did read the Bible. And so I was constantly frustrated as a Christian because I was like, they're either not reading the Bible or they have some like weird way of getting around these Bible verses that say that we should be, I mean, the 10 Commandments says that you need to respect the Sabbath, right? And yet most of the like Christian churches will tell you, like, you don't have to respect the Sabbath. That's not a big deal. It's in the 10 Commandments, you know, like, what are you talking about? You don't have to respect the Sabbath. And then Jesus literally says right there that, you know, you got to follow the law until the heavens and the earth disappear. And yet nobody seems to care about it. Like, just, it's the Old Testament. It's no old covenant. We got a new covenant for that sort of thing. No, we don't. Like, we're based on what, like, anyway. And it's a lot of it has to do with like Paul's writing, because Paul didn't know what Jesus had said because they were, you know, Paul wasn't even around when Jesus was around. So anyway, it's the whole thing.
And then in 1 Corinthians 6. So it's really cool to be able to have this reference for that word specifically, right? When you consider the phrase all things, because the word things here also means pause, right? So it's not two different words that Paul is using. Select it, we go study, same word, right? All things. So this is one phrase. It's
we really gotta okay, what does he mean by things? Okay, are we gonna do stuff next? Things and stuff. Okay, here we go. Let's see what does Jesus mean by stuff? What kind of stuff are we talking about? Now let's look at this.
One word in the Greek, which is pause, and it's translates as two words in our New Testament. The point being is that
we got that damn raid. What's going on, y'all? Oh, you goddamn raiders. Yeah, that's it.
Things have been created through him, Jesus, and for him. So Jesus is the creator, right? He is who all things are created from.
Yeah, I got that too. I got that without having to do all the stupid crap you just did.
In the very next line, verse 17, it says, he is before all things. So
what do they mean by that? Maybe we should look up the word before. What can he mean by before? I mean, that's, you know, is he talking about like a thing that pollinates flowers and the number 4, maybe 4 bees that do some pollinating? I don't know. We're gonna have to look up. Jesus Christ.
Not only are all things created for him, all things are created through him, and he is before all things. That same word, pause, he is also before all things. Now here's the cool part that I think we get to step into.
Oh, that wasn't the cool part? Oh, that's crazy, because that was pretty cool.
It's verse 18. It says, and he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might.
He's the firstborn among the dead. What? He is, hold on. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead. Okay. Weird. He was like, I was actually the firstborn out of all the dead stuff that's around here, just stinking the place up.
Have the supremacy. Jesus is supreme. The same language is also used in Revelation, where Jesus declares, I am the Alpha, I am the beginning and the end. And so we see Jesus as outside of space and time. And the cool part is in verse 18.
Oh, is that what all that was for? Okay. Seems like, so to sum up, Jesus outside of space and time, because the verse says that he is the head of the body, you know, and he was the firstborn out of all the dead stuff. What the fuck?
He is the head of the body, which is the church, the body of Christ, the global community of believers all around the world. And if you follow and believe in Jesus, you are a part of Christ's body. So it's not just that Christ is.
Now, which one? Like, which version of the person that believes? A lot of people, Jehovah's Witnesses, technically believe in Jesus. Do they count? Because I don't think you would think they count. They don't think you count. That's for sure.
Supreme, and it's this distant idea that we can wrestle with and do polemics and apologetics and philosophy and theology on. It's that he is above all things. And
what's up, Hellbound Hillbilly? How we doing, man? Sounds like his assholery. Yeah, it does.
We as followers of Jesus are a part of his body. What does that practically look like? That looks like us stepping
into. If you want someone to be a part of your body, just go to adamandeve.com. Enter code word. Like, if you want stuff inside your body, honestly, go to adamandeve.com. Enter that code word Brentley at checkout to get 50% off almost any one item, 6 free movies, 3 free gifts, and free shipping on the whole order. Go to adamandeve.com. Enter code Brentley. Get your butt some stuff. Yeah, sorry, too many ads.
To a local church gathering, which, by the way, the church is the only institution that Jesus ever established, and getting to participate with being a part.
What kind of, the church is the only institution that Jesus ever established? Okay, was there somebody like trying to say that he started the CIA or something, or some other institution? What are you talking about?
Of Jesus's body.
I thought Peter started the church too, by the way. Wasn't it Peter? But I guess they would be like, well, Peter did it through Jesus Christ,
which is the community of believers here on this earth that he established. So Joe,
as opposed to the ones in outer space. That's different, whole different thing. Okay. They have an alien, Jesus, that was sacrificed. Okay.
Rogan is absolutely right. The resurrection is way less preposterous than the secular explanation of how the universe came to be. And the resurrection confirms, as our friend Glenn Scrivener rightfully.
It's crazy that they do that too, because they're like, oh man, it's a better explanation. Like, that's just one. And this is how they manipulate people. Like, oh, what science doesn't know where everything came from. So you got to believe that a woman made of a rib was convinced by a talking snake to eat a magical fruit. And that's why Jesus had to sacrifice himself to himself in order to convince himself to save the world from himself. But like, and they keep on adding all these things that you have to believe. It's not just, oh, all you got to do is believe that Jesus came back to life. No. You also have to believe that a donkey had a debate with a guy and won. And then the guy riding the donkey looked like such an idiot, man, because he didn't see the angel with the flaming sword in the road. This is the stuff you have to think. Okay. And if you go, yeah, I don't know about the talking donkey thing, man, that sounds kind of, oh, well, where did everything come from then? Huh? Because secular doesn't know. Secular, they say everything it's stupid. It's a miracle, basically. And then, dude, you could just say, I don't know, right? And go, I don't know where everything came from. And I kind of don't care. Everything's here, right? And it just seems that question mark that we all have in our brain is something that is so often used by con men to get you to throw your brain out the window and just let them tell you everything they want you to think. And you got to be like, sure, whatever. Tell me everything I got to think. You know what? Tell me what I got to do too. Because, sometimes I do stuff that I don't like. Maybe if you just tell me what to do and I can just appeal to you for all of my decision making, because I make some bad decisions sometimes. So no more decisions would be great. If I could just not be thinking at all and just follow some religious code, and then I don't have to do anything. I can just follow the rules, and that's it.
Pointed out that Jesus is who he claims to be, that he is the creator of all things, that everything is created through him.
Ember, what's going on, Ember? How you doing? So if Jesus were first, shouldn't we retcon the Adam and Eve thing? It's a good question. And yes, we should. We should retcon that.
And it's for him, including you and I. So what do you guys think? I want to know in the comments. When Joe Rogan says he's sticking with Jesus, does that mean that he's already there? Is he close? Is he on his way? Let me know what you think. Also,
I think Joe Rogan's really dumb. He doesn't even believe in the moon landing. I mean, like we're like 5 episodes away from him bringing on a flat earther and being like, I don't know. The Katy Perry launch thing was pretty silly. So flat earth. I don't know what else to do, right? Well, I mean, the secularists don't even know where everything came from. The earth could easily be flat because, you know, Jesus.
You want to get that 60-day free trial of this logo software, which, by the way, it's available on your phone and on the desktop and on the iPad. Check this out.
It's available. It's available on both your cellular telephone and the laptop and the desktop computer. Even iPads can have this thing in it. Wow, dude. Yeah, no, got it. It can be on all the stuff that holds programs
out here, or click the link below. Logos.com/Ruslan will get you hooked up. And if you
get you hooked up, bro, we'll get you hooked up. Yeah. So, this is over. This isn't, you know, it's all done. How much time we got? Oh, looks like we got a half an hour. All right. Well, let's see. So I found, okay. I thought that this was going to be a lot more popular because, you know, a lot of times I like to take whatever the theme is and run with it. And a lot of times whenever Joe Rogan says anything about Jesus, I can, you know, usually like 20 or 30 of these Fundie channels all start talking about him. But I found this and I kind of thought it was funny. I think it's, I guess it is 20 minutes. But it's that David Wood guy talking to Apostate prophet, who I think, I could be mistaken, but I think he was a Muslim and he became a Christian, if I'm not, you know, if I'm not mistaken. But is anybody familiar with Apostate prophet? Ember said, did Jesus claim to be God? David Wood just argued that case in front of Ruslan and failed to come up with a single definite statement. Yeah, because he didn't. That had to be voted on. That had to be voted on by the council. With the Council of Nicaea, right? I think one of the councils that decide stuff for the Bible, because that's how you decide. I mean, that's how you figure out if something is true. You just vote on it. You vote to see if it's true. Like, I don't know. What does everybody think? And yeah, Jesus didn't ever say that he was God. You always have to take some kind of inference out of the things that he did say. So he would say stuff like, if you've seen me, this is the one that I used to use because I had this conversation with Jehovah's Witnesses a lot because, you know, they come to those guys come to your door. They come to your house. And so as a Christian, I'd be like, well, listen, bucko, let me tell you guys where you're wrong about the Bible. And I'd be like, well, Jesus is God. And they're like, son of God. And I'm like, you son of a bitch, listen here. And then I'd go into how they were wrong. But like the verse I would use is, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. If you've heard if you've heard my words, you've heard the words of the Father, or something like that, right? And that was but it's just stuff like that. He never actually says, by the way, I'm God. He doesn't ever say that. You know, they even asked him, like, straightforward. They asked him, and I think he just said, I am. I don't even know if he actually said that. I think he just didn't say anything. He was just silent on the matter. But yeah, anyway. What was this? Oh, see, Tim Pool's covering it though, right? God, I hate Tim Pool. All right, we're just gonna go with it.
They're getting baptized.
Good.
Joe Rogan.
About the resurrection.
Maybe we'll cover that apostate prophet thing. Like, what do y'all think? Where are we at with y'all? Do you want to do Tim Pool or you want to do the apostate prophet? I will go by whatever the chat says next. If anybody wants to tell me, hopefully the lag isn't too bad. But I will, you know, I'm gonna go by what y'all want to do. I don't want to say anyway. He's no longer an apostate. Oh, so he switched. He reversed course on that. Was that the guy that was he used to be an atheist and then he went back to being, and said he couldn't say I am God or he'd be a weirdo? but inferring it seems okay for a little while. Yeah. He's specifically an Orthodox Christian, if I remember. Okay. Like I said, we can either do this one, which is kind of on topic for the video, or we can react to the apostate prophet one. But I'm not getting anything from the thing. AP makes me so mad. Oh, so you're saying it makes you mad? All right, we'll go with this one then. Maybe I'll react to a different one or to that one another time. How about that?
Of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And it's funny because people would be incredulous about the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but yet they're convinced that the entire universe was smaller than the head of a pin, and for no reason than anybody's adequately explained to me. Makes sense.
Yeah. No.
Instantaneously became everything.
Yeah.
Because as it has been explained to you. That's so interesting. So what? So we have to get you to understand all of quantum physics, or like cosmological, like quantum physics and all that type of stuff, in order for you to be convinced it's true. Otherwise, it's the talking donkey book that says that the carpenter had to sacrifice himself to himself. That's the other alternative, right? Like it's jeez Louise.
Okay.
I can't.
It is easier to explain. Like a magical carpenter did it. Oh, that actually makes more sense than the head of the pin thing. That's physics says it.
Buy that.
I'm sticking with Jesus on
Yeah.
that one. Like, Jesus makes more sense.
It doesn't sound. It's almost every time he says stuff like that, it sounds like he's not being serious. It sounds like it's some kind of like, oh, I'm saying it, but I don't actually think. I don't know. It's hard to read that sort of stuff, and I think it's just because it's his business mind, man. Like he's just like, I got to appeal to this large audience that is clearly the biggest block of people that watch my content, or people that are Christians that I guess are still allowed to watch shows where they swear and stuff. So not super Christians, but just, Christian enough. Anyway.
It's a growing trend. Young people are finding the church expressing interest in Jesus Christ. Many people in this country are starting to become Christian or return to their faith. Notably, Russell Brand famously got baptized and is now a Christian. Even many pro skateboarders who are largely viewed as
even those skateboarders. What? Man, look, he's even got a skateboard over here. Sam Cedar said that, he went to talk to Tim Pool, and he said they have this massive skate park, right? And he, I guess, asked them, like, "Oh, do you guys skate and stuff?" No, we just have a giant skate park. He said it was like brand new and untouched. Nobody used it. But they got it though, just in case somebody might at some point want to skateboard on the ramp.
Degenerates. They don't really make a lot of money. They do drugs. They hang out. They're not even rock stars. Many of these pro skateboarders we're finding, they're getting baptized. Joe Rogan may be a great example of this shift when he said he's sticking with Jesus.
What is PM, dude? Where does he get his article? It's like the Daily Mail. He gets like his articles from the weirdest places, it seems.
Questioning the Big Bang Theory. Now, I'm not saying Joe's a Christian guy. I'm not saying that in this article he's professing his faith in Jesus. The point he's making is that
Russell off-brand. That's good. I like that. God, he's so cringy. There's the way he talks. It freaks me out. He is yelling at the camera all the time, man. Like it's freaky the way he does it. I'm just like, oh my God. Like it makes my skin crawl to sit there and try to watch his show. Because I have wanted to try to cover it, especially since he became a Christian, but I can't take the cringe. Like even that. And I watch Ray Comfort. Okay. I can handle some cringe, but not that level,
Jesus seems more probable than the Big Bang. Interesting nonetheless, because that's the path you walk down where you end up saying you're going to be Christian. But this is a growing trend. Let me play this clip for you. We played a little bit in the intro, but I want to show you this clip. We have this from the Post-Millennial.
Oh, Post-Millennial. Okay. Never heard of it.
Podcast host Joe Rogan has once again expressed growing interest in Christianity during his recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, telling the guests he finds the idea of Jesus Christ increasingly compelling and even more logical than scientific explanations.
You know what's weird too is like Tim Pool is an atheist. I've literally heard him, yeah, he would say like he would say he's not convinced, or I guess like a deist more position, right? But he like said, I remember before he would say he doesn't like all the religious stuff. He's like said it several times. I don't believe in all that religious crap, right? But he like slowly stopped saying that over time because I think he realized that, like, again, just like Joe Rogan, most of his audience are Christian. So like when he was saying that, you could see that, you know, he would get a lot of pushback from a lot of the Christians because most of his views tend to line up with far right weirdo Christians, right? So, but to sit here and see him, and he'll say, like, I'm not a Christian, but I just happen to always argue for whatever they want to be true all the time, politically and everything.
He was speaking with writer and TikToker Cody Tucker. Rogan said, I'm sticking with Jesus. Jesus makes more sense. People have come back to life. Let me play the clip for you. You can hear it in its entirety.
That one.
Yeah.
Well, space is the ultimate who the fuck knows, because we can only see so far. We see so far, but even so far is only so far.
What? I'm going to pause. I do want to kind of.
Very good, man. That was deep. It's like we see so far, but so far is like, it's only so far, you know? So anyway.
Dissect a lot of what they're saying. The first thing you always got to understand about philosophy of knowledge, we actually don't know. We don't see at all. We have faith. This is an important understanding many people do not have. Like, I had this argument with Ian over and over and over again, but people are convinced everything they were told is true. No, the only thing that I know is that I know nothing. That's true.
Philosopher Temple. Can we just stop it there? I think I finally agree with Temple on something. You're right. You do know nothing. No, all I know is that I know nothing. I mean, again, like, it depends what you mean by no, but he's, you know, of course he's talking about epistemology and I guess Descartes and that sort of thing. Like, the only thing I can have absolute certainty about is that I exist or that I am experiencing something, in other words, and everything else. Hey, an evil demon could be tricking me. You know, the earth could be flat. Like, just anything can be true because we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know a lot, whatever. But yeah, come on, man. I don't know. It just, to me, is like we have good reasons to think a lot of things, you know, based on evidence, and then you proportion your confidence to the evidence. And if the evidence changes or you realize that some of the evidence was not good, update your position. That is the best way to keep your internal model of reality matching reality as best we can figure. But anyway,
I believe some things because I've chosen to. For instance, Joe's
because I've chosen to. See, why would you phrase it like that? I believe some things because I've chosen to believe things. Why not? I believe some things because there's evidence and reasons to think them. You know, like you shouldn't just be choosing to believe stuff. You should be basing your conclusions off of evidence and reasons.
Says we can only see so far. Joe, maybe he has. So I won't speak for him, but most people have not actually looked through any of these telescopes. They've not actually looked at any of these planetary bodies. They just believe it because someone told it to them. Some people have done the research. And I happen to be more of a man of science than religion.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. So he's saying I happen to be more of a man of science than religion. Good. Well, good for you that you've with that balance there. Since the one could be whatever you want it to be, you can make up whatever you want, right? And then the other one is, you know, it kind of has to be based on the models that have been presented by the people that actually dedicate their lives to studying whatever their respected field is. And, you know, you have a lot better luck with the people that, you know, spend their life actually studying reality rather than just making crap up, but whatever.
But there is, and I'll explain why, but let me play more.
And then they're saying like it's always expanding, which that can't be true, because like what is it expanding into? If space is space, you know, if they're like, oh, it's like blowing up a balloon where everything's okay, but you're blowing up a balloon in a room,
right?
So what's the room that you're blowing the balloon into? And then that's in a bigger room, and then that's in this.
Not right.
Okay, good.
It may be.
At least, at least Tim Pool stopped and was like, "Hold on, we're not blowing up a balloon in a room." Okay, that's not. Jesus.
Well, actually, I'll let.
Then
Jimmy
there's the
relate.
concept that it's actually finite. It's not infinite, and it's some sort of donut shape. It like
We have no idea.
goes back around eventually.
No.
But then who made all?
What is he talking about? Where is the donut shape? Is it? where did he get that one from? I've not heard that. A donut universe. Interesting.
Right.
Like, is there a God? Did God make this?
Or is God the universe?
Yeah, but then who made God? And then that bothers me.
Right. But
Like, who made that thing?
Is that a thing that we think that, like, because we were born and we die, that we have these biological limitations that we attach to the universe itself?
Joe's a smart
that's
guy.
that's fair. That
Right.
yeah, that we see things as being built and destroyed.
That there's always been something.
And-
Well, wouldn't it be crazier if there wasn't something at one point in time?
Yeah.
That seems even crazier. Then there
Right.
always has been something. Because if it's just something, if it's just the nature of everything, there is always something, right?
Right.
It couldn't be nothing and then all of
No.
a sudden everything. That
Right.
seems
Because what started that? What kicked that off?
Exactly.
What snapped its fingers? Like, you know.
that's McKenna's great line. Terrence McKenna had a great line
Mm-hmm.
about the difference between science and religion is that science only asks you for one miracle. I want you to believe in one miracle, the Big Bang.
Yeah. That's a good one.
It's a great line.
Yeah.
It's because it really is true. And
Yes.
it's
No.
funny because people would be incredulous about the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
What is he doing over there? He's like pointing, and then it's supposed. I think it's a. Hold on, let me just see what he's doing.
Big Bang.
Yeah. That's a good one.
It's a great
Fake laugh. Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
It's because it really is true. And
Yes.
it's funny because people would be incredulous
What?
about the resurrection of Jesus Christ,
Mhm.
but yet they're convinced that the entire universe was smaller than the head of a pin, and for
Right.
no reason than anybody's adequately explained to me.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. No.
Instantaneously became
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't think was it instantaneously. I don't know. There's a lot of this that I'm not sure about as far as like what the current model of the Big Bang model is or whatever. But like, can't we just say we don't know? That's not asking you to believe in a miracle. It's just asking you to acknowledge the limits of your own knowledge, like the knowledge that we're capable of accessing, right? Like, there's not what's wrong with that? Why can't we just say I don't know? Instead, you got someone saying, "Oh no, I do know," and it's a carpenter ghost that I think lives inside of me that I pretend to cannibalize on a regular basis, like that. And that somehow, right there, to him, makes more sense than just saying we don't know, but everything's expanding, and here's all the evidence that we got. Here's all the mathematical models and everything like that. Here's the 3-body problem, whatever. All these cosmological type of stuff, like of space stuff, is insane to me. I have the hardest time wrapping my brain around space stuff because it always feels so abstract and so far from anything, so far removed from anything that I can actually look at and understand here on this little tiny speck within the universe. When you talk about like thousands of light years, there's what the concept of a light year is just batshit. That just it just breaks your brain almost immediately. The fact that like, oh, this is such a great distance that it's like going the speed of light for a year, and that's how far that is. That's crazy to me. Right? When they start talking about, hey, 10,000 Earths can fit inside whatever it is, and you're just like, well, I can't even. How am I supposed to even? That does nothing for my brain. Like all of that is just it's so big. It's big. I don't know. That's it. I don't know. It's just there's so much about space stuff. I don't understand that it doesn't matter to me, honestly, that I just don't understand this one other thing. You know what I mean? But I think the people that actually dedicate their lives to researching this sort of thing probably have a better idea of like how this stuff works than the dude that puts on the robe and just makes crap up and says that the talking donkey book is what we should believe over everything else, including what we can see with our own eyes.
I can't buy that.
I'm sticking with Jesus. On
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus makes more sense.
This is the funny.
What's up, Blaster, Guitar Dog, Weed Bro, Burns? I'm sorry, I haven't been saying hi to everybody here. AR, how we doing? What's up? Did I miss anybody? And Charlie, what's up, Charlie? Did I say Charlie? Anyway, yeah.
Thing. Religion, creationism, evolution, science. Now, I think it's fair to say that some things are easily observable by the average person. What I can say is I have here this hilarious rubber mallet.
It is pretty hilarious. I was about to bust out into just immediate laughter at the moment you presented it on camera.
Raymond left it here. And I know that if I
Raymond
bashed my monitor right now with it, it would break. See, I do know that's true. However, there are greater...
I don't know, man. It's not a very big mallet. It might not break. Hey, what if it just vibrates real hard? It is rubber after all, man. It's not like it's a steel one.
Questions about, say, what do we breathe in? You can do a simple experiment to know that there is a vacuum and that air exists, and that's what high school science class is for. But there are greater questions we can't answer. How did the universe start? Theoretical astrophysics.
Did the universe start?
Think. You know, what happens is when we look through these telescopes, we see, I think it's a redshift. I don't even know these things. Let's get the data pulled up while I talk. I'm pretty sure it's the redshift because I just read some of this stuff. Redshift is a phenomenon where light from...
I just read some stuff. You know what I mean? I think it's the redshift thing.
Object in space appears shifted toward the red end of the spectrum, meaning its wavelengths are stretched and its frequency decreases. What this implies is that the object is moving away from you, because as the universe is expanding and the object is moving away, it makes the light wavelength stretch out. When it's moving towards you, the light is compressing because it's moving towards... you, right. Yeah, I got it. Light. So that's a blue, I believe that's a blue shift. I don't know. I'm not a...
No, yeah, you don't. I don't know why you're talking about this. There doesn't really seem like you know anything you're saying.
You know, physicist or anything like that.
yeah, we got it.
So we did this, and we were like, hey, everything is kind of redshifting.
There's Drusilla. How we doing, Drusilla? What's up?
And moving away from us. So the universe is expanding, and it looks like it's expanding faster. Well, back in the day, there were a handful of theories. There was solid state theory. There's big crunch theory. The argument...
Solid state theory. It's funny. Solid State was a record company that had all of the Christian metal bands. It was from... there was this company called Tooth and Nail Records that was a punk rock label, and it had like it's it was under that was like the umbrella company or whatever, right? Tooth and Nail. And then it had like some of these like under company, I don't know what you call them, like sub companies. There's a better name for it. But they and one was Solid State, and it was all of like the metal bands and stuff that, you know, it's like all like the hardcore metal and, you know, like stuff like that. Anyway, I think they had like a hip hop one too. Anyway,
that the universe will expand outward but then collapse back inward. All of those, they're just ideas. And there's a battle of math trying to figure out what is true and what isn't.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan is...
Yeah, it's called evidence, man. And then we have different models, again, based on evidence due to the data that we do have. And then we come to conclusions based on that. And then we update those models given new data. That's it. That's how this works. Right. I know and it's constantly moving. The needle is constantly moving.
Not wrong. Now, the funny thing is, he said people come back to life all the time. He's correct. But that wouldn't be a miracle, would it? Still, it's enough for people to believe that it actually happened.
After 3 days, and like after 3 days and after being tortured to death, like really? They do that all the time. Like, tortured to death people come back constantly. Okay, just ask a serial killer. All right, they'll tell you. They're like, "Whoa, I thought that guy was dead." Turns out, no, just very shallow breathing for a very long time.
Then we can have a scientific, secular view of what Jesus is, in that he's a man who preached this new view of Judaism, essentially, of Christianity, what it came to be. And when they crucified and...
Yeah, Jesus was a Christian. He was. He read his Bible every day. Okay. He had his quiet times, right?
Some have argued, these are secular individuals, he didn't actually die. He was comatose. And when they put him in the cold, dark cave, it slowed down his functions so that he didn't bleed out and die instantly, allowing him to recover a little bit. and then escape and run away.
I mean, that makes better sense than, oh, he's actually God. Like, you know what I mean? Like that makes more, like, we do have evidence of things like that happening. You know what I mean? So, but it also, especially in this day and age, where I've seen the most obvious facts and people just denying them right in front of their face because they want to believe something so badly that they will just decide that their eyes are deceiving them or whatever. We've seen this like crazy when it comes to like Trumpism and all this stuff with the election fraud and all whatever, you know, all this crap. They will just believe whatever they want. As long as they want to believe something bad enough, they will find every type of little anything to validate what they'd like to think. And so when it comes to something like this, if you have a dedicated group of cult followers and then their cult leader all of a sudden is taken out, they will just decide that, oh, this guy over here must be him. You know, look at that. Right? Whether it's mistaken identity or somebody just saying that they saw them. You know what I mean? Oh, no, they were alive. I saw him talking to Joe. Whatever. Really? I knew it. I knew he was God. I knew it. Thank goodness I was right about him being God, because I kind of sold all my stuff to the board and followed him. Probably shouldn't have done that. Probably should have kept at least a couple things, you know? But anyway. But yeah, people will think whatever they... So I don't know. I don't know is my point. But him being God is last on the list of probabilities. You know what I mean?
Or if you were of the faith, he died. And then on the third day, he was resurrected.
Yeah, the first a day and a half later.
That's a miracle. The other one is just someone trying to explain it. Either way, here's the thing. We know people exist. Sometimes people come back to life. There's potentially powers beyond us. Both religion and the Big Bang contend there's powers beyond our understanding.
Wait, bro. I only drink beer and the occasional scotch. Hey, that's about what I do. So I don't really drink too often anymore. Every so often, though, I do. And that's about where I go, too. Just beer and scotch. It's pretty much it.
In which case, Joe's making a great point. It is actually much simpler, mathematically, logically, to say the universe was created and God sent his only son and all of those things, than to believe in the Big Bang. Now, here's what
How is it simpler, man? That makes things so much more, like, it makes it infinitely more complex to sit there and say that all that stuff is true, rather than just be like, oh, the universe expanded out of a quantum vacuum field or a scalar field or whatever, like quantum fluctuations. We'll just say that. Right? Just saying quantum fluctuations, like, no, it's that actually there was a God, you know, and he wanted to make everything perfect for us. So he created this garden and he made all the animals or whatever. And then he made Adam and Eve, and she, you know, or he made Adam and then he made Eve out of one of his ribs. And then they ate an apple they weren't supposed to eat. And so that's when people started to die. The earth got cursed. Oh, and prior to that, there was a third of heaven's legion that were cast out because Satan just got too haughty, man. You got a little bit too of a big head there, you know, got a little bit of an attitude problem up there in heaven, got cast out. Then, then he goes to the garden, turns into a snake, convinces the lady made of a rib. All that makes more sense than quantum fluctuations. Are you crazy, man? What the hell are you talking about? That's the most insane shit I've ever heard in my life. It's so weird to me. But here's the thing. People confuse familiarity with making sense. If it's something that you've heard over and over and over again, and you look around and all the people are nodding their head along to it, whether it makes sense or not, you're going to think it makes sense because everybody else is acting like it does. It's not about it actually making sense. It's just your familiarity with it. If you talk to some person in India or whatever about Jesus coming back to life and all that type of stuff, and a God that was like tortured to death and then came back, they would look at you like that. You're insane. They're like, why would you worship somebody that was tortured to death? What a weak God. Like, why would he? Like, our gods kick ass. Okay, have you met Vishnu? He's a badass. Okay, he even though he got cursed to be killed or whatever, he made it so that nobody could. Or what was it? This thing like was gonna. Damn, now I can't think of the story. Anyway, he tricked this guy that was gonna kill him because the guy said, "Give me the power to kill any man or beast," right? And so that guy got the power to kill any man or beast. But then when he came up to Vishnu, guess what he did? Turned into half and half. That wasn't something that he wished for. He didn't get the half and half wish, so he couldn't kill it because he was half and half. And then he also said, I'll be able to kill anybody, whether it's day or night. And guess when Vishnu showed up? That's right, at dusk. So it's halfway between. Ha! Yeah, now what are you doing? Now I'm halfway between animal and man and halfway between day and night. What are you going to do? Can't kill me. That's right, because I'm Vishnu. I'm a badass. That's right. That's so much. So they would look at like Jesus and be like, why do you worship somebody that got crucified? That's so stupid. Like, what a weak God. What's wrong with you? You know, but to people like us, you know, that were raised in America, it seems like it makes sense because your loved ones, a lot of times are saying that it does. And they'll sit there and repeat how much it makes sense. That, hey, man, sin came into the world. God can't have sin in heaven. Of course he had to unalive himself to sacrifice. Of course. Otherwise, you know, sin could just waltz into heaven. No. I mean, come on. Get out of here. That's what doesn't make sense right there. But that none of this makes sense. Like, all of this is insane. Like, what are you even talking about? This is all made up nonsense, right? But it's familiar. And so, anyway, the long way to make the point. Familiarity sounds like making sense. It doesn't. But anyway, thank y'all for hanging out. If you want to play with things, hanging out of you, go to adamandeve.com. Enter that code word Brentley at checkout and get your butt some stuff. And they got everything. adamandeve.com is America's #1 adult toy dispensary. Save yourself a trip to that store and get your butt some stuff sent directly. If you get your butt stuff that from adamandeve.com, you can get it for 50% off almost any one item. It's everything except for like the big swing, I think. Oh, and the bar. I think there's like a bar that, like, you know, you can install in your house so that they can do like strip teases in your room or whatever. Yeah, those are pretty, those don't count, I'm pretty sure. Everything else, though, basically, you can get any of those items for 50% off. And then you get a bunch of other crap, too. It's awesome. Put in my code, Brentley, Brently, and yeah, get your exclusive offer. It's good stuff. This is my last weekday morning show. I've got a new schedule. So I will be switching to the afternoon. So hopefully y'all will still be able to make it. It's probably going to be like 3:30, somewhere in there. Yeah, 3:30 to 5 or something like that. Anyway, we'll figure it out. 3:30 to 5:30. I don't know. But keep an eye out. I will try to schedule them so that y'all can see when it's going to happen. And also, if you don't mind, head over and watch the call-in show. It wasn't really a call-in show. It was a TikTok interaction I had, and I made a video out of it. So head over and watch that and like it and all that type of stuff and share it around. Really appreciate it. But anyway, and if you want to like this stream, that'd be great too. With the little like button down there, you know, anything helps, you know. But yeah, just you can follow me on Patreon if you want to subscribe, and you know, you want to support the channel. You can support us by supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/Apostate. I don't know why I'm having trouble saying that. Okay, and then you could just do a one-time thing on Cash App. If you want to go to Cash App, it's our cash tag is Apostate. Also, you can become a member by hitting that join button, and then you get all sorts of extra perks. I can't even really go through all of them because there's so much. You even get emojis that have special powers in the live streams. So yeah, it's really good stuff. Also, if you want to email me, my email is punkapostate@gmail.com. And you can join our Discord. The link for that should be below, as well as all the links to all my socials, and follow me on all that stuff. But the main thing is to stay logical, loving, skeptical, and compassionate, and we will see you next time. You know what makes